Ah, so before the school was set up.
So it would seem. That part I'm not quite comfortable with, but if you're asking about the kids, I think this place is good for them. They're learning, and they seem like good kids.
They do seem like good kids.
You're worried though, Cedric. You think that maybe the card is training them up to be join them up in their ranks, perhaps?
That was a thought. I'm also worried about this ritual.
Maybe one of us can try to do some investigating. Maybe this Miss Erlinda has an office of some sort. We could do some snooping around.
Well, one thing, I'm not the best at stealth. And the other is I don't want to ruin these people's trust and get us thrown out. I feel like
Just merely a suggestion. If you're concerned about you doing it, I can try to sneak my way in.
Well, I can't speak for Theo, but he's a dwarf. I mean, could he go through the ritual? I mean, it's just an idea. He knows a few of these children, and
he knows these children.
well, I mean, he's been introduced to them, and
I love Cedric
and he
so much.
knows Belinda. Could he not? I mean, if he was willing to, maybe he could do the magic orange stuff. Maybe. I don't know. It's a wild thought. Instead of snooping, that is.
I mean, if he's up for it, and if they are up for it, I see no problem against this. It'd give us more of an opportunity to see what outcomes of, or what results this ritual has on dwarfs once they take it.
I mean, if he comes out different, then we know it's bad. And if he's the same, then I don't know.
One thing, though, when I was talking to Zachariah, he said he didn't remember the ritual. And he said his head hurt.
Well,
And when I asked him about a scar or any physical differences, he wouldn't tell me.
well, you are a stranger, Cedric, and that is a personal question, kind of, for a child.
When you say that Zachariah's head hurt a little bit, Hugh probably subconsciously, he probably wasn't even thinking about it, subtly rubs his forehead a little bit.
Oh, you.
Ooh. If Cedric notices that, he's going to feel really uncomfortable. Yeah, that's true. They don't.
You're just a big, scary guy asking weird questions. You can hardly blame him for being a bit apprehensive.
I don't think I'm that scary.
Well, to a child, you are.
I can see your point. Maybe if we get our dwarf to ask them these questions.
That's an idea.
Where is Theo? Just ran off.
Since you've questioned Zachariah, maybe he could talk to Rosie, the girl.
Yeah? Do you know where he went?
He was outside, just in the hallway.
It's a strange place, but
You needed to think, about stuff, like the rocks.
right.
weird dwarf stuff, I guess. I don't know.
Dwarf stuff. Must be dwarf stuff.
Must be.
I'll go speak with him.
Okay.
Theo,
Hello?
why are you out here? I thought you
Well,
were supervising.
It's getting a bit steamy in there with all that grilling. But
Grilling?
yeah.
I thought I was being rather easy on them.
Yes. Physical pain, that's an easy subject for children.
Yes.
Look, I don't want to fight with you. What do you think? Are you actually going to turn these kids in?
I'm leaning towards no. There are a few very big red flag, or there is one big red flag, and that involves the ritual. I understand why they don't want to tell me. I am a stranger who literally just walked into the door. But from what I've gathered, it's just very worrying to me. And I was hoping that you could talk to Kenna suggested Rosie, because she seemed to be very powerful with this magic. Maybe you could get a few more answers about the ritual.
Kenna suggested I talk to Rosie.
Yeah, seems to be the most talented of the group.
Oh, that Avarian.
What answers does she think I could get from Rosie?
I don't know, but it's better than a big scary Templar walking in and asking questions. I feel like if a fellow dwarf asks them, they might feel a bit more comfortable around you.
Yeah, well, they did. Till I brought a bunch of strangers in. I don't know if Zelinda would see me any better than you at this point. I did bring a Templar into their midst.
Who has not been that bad? Of all the Templars, I feel like you brought the right one here.
Hey, if I honestly thought that you weren't going to be as you were, then you wouldn't have gone in there. If I thought you were just going to take them away. I'll give you credit where credit's due. I personally would rather speak to Zelinda. I'm just wondering what kind of information you think I could get from the child specifically.
Not sure. I was just talking to Zachary, and he told me a bit about the ritual, but he obviously left some things out. I'm more curious about if there's any physical scarring left after the ritual takes place. He said his head hurt when he woke, and he doesn't remember what had happened. That concerns me.
Magic is a very strong force, and a dwarven body apparently can handle it, but I'd still imagine a foreign substance, or whatever it is that creates magic, entering a body that had not previously housed it. That would probably take some getting used to.
Yes, I understand that. It's the physical scarring, how he did not want to tell me anything about that.
I'll talk to Rosie.
I thank you. All I'm asking is that you talk to them. Whether or not you find anything out, it's...
Don't forget, Cedric, that you did not trust me talking to them earlier. You wanted to see them for yourself. You did not trust my word then.
Well, I trust your word now that I have seen them.
Fine. Know that Kenna's motives for having me talk to Rosie aren't quite what they seem, but that'll be a discussion. That'll be a discussion for later.
Oh, okay. I understand.
All right. I will speak to you soon, my friend.
Yes.
Okay, so you go into the room and you find Rosie, and she's just still hanging out with the rest of the kids.
Hi. Hello again.
Hi, Rosie says softly.
It was very silly of me to run out like that. I apologize.
I'm sorry if I said something wrong.
No, you didn't. Not at all. I left my nug in the oven.
She laughs.
How did you learn to be so powerful? You're clearly very good with magic.
Thank you. I had to practice a lot.
Really? Well, practice makes perfect.
Uh-huh. She nods. Miss Erlinda says I'm one of the most powerful students here. She also says that means I have to be the most careful, too.
Yes, definitely. Do you know how you got your magic?
A ritual. Cognition, she says.
What did that entail?
She says, we go into a room, and then there's all these lights, and then I don't remember. But I wake up, it feels a little funny in my head, but then it goes away after a few days.
Has there been any physical pains or differences?
She shakes her head. No, it doesn't hurt anymore. Not since then.
Did, Zerlinda ever tell you why it hurt your head? Or what had happened?
She says it's part of the ritual.
Alright, that's fine. I'm gonna have a talk with your teacher for a second, okay?
Okay, she says as she smiles. You're very nice.
Thank you. So are you.
Are you how long are you going to stay here?
I don't know.
She nods. Well, I hope you enjoy your nug.
Yes. And enjoy your chatting.
Okay. What happens next?
I give Theo a thumbs up.
Oh, this is so awkward. Okay. So Theo's gonna lightly touch Zelinda on the arm. Can I talk to you?
Do you need to talk privately?
Ideally, yes.
I guess back in my office then. Class, she says, everyone, back to your quarters. And you're free for the rest of the day until supper. And the kids say, yay! And they'll start filing out.
Oh, they're
So, as they're filing out, the one child, Rosie, takes another glance back at Theoben before she leaves.
That character pick is so cute, Hark.
Yeah.
Thank you.
She's adorable.
Thank
So
you.
cute.
It hurts so much.
All right, Theo. So, did the rest of your friends feel that everything here was up to snuff, up to code, I suppose?
Trust me, I don't like it any more than you do. Frankly, I wish they'd see some of their own hypocrisy, but that's neither here nor there. I just wanted to talk to you about this ritual.
I see.
Now listen,
Okay.
I know exactly why you don't want to tell them about this ritual. I know that they're a closely kept secret, and I know that the Chantry has some of its own, which means they can't say shit about it. So, all I need to know is, does it hurt them? Does it invade their mind? Does it cause any physical difference? What is the process?
She
You
thinks about this.
You can tell me. I'm no danger to you.
Before I answer that question, Theoben, let me ask you this. Did you ever love me? At any time during the whole, did you ever actually feel love for me?
Yes. I did.
Well, you did a really effing job showing it,
What, you mean when you were pregnant with someone else's child?
That's not fair. You pushed me away. I tried to be the right wife for you. I tried to do everything, but you were always too busy doing something else. What did you expect me to do? Somebody else ended up being there when you weren't.
Could have talked to me. You could have told me how you feel. You can't justify infidelity.
I'm not saying that there are a few things that I would have done differently. But you can't tell me that you were completely blameless as to what happened as well.
Of course I wasn't blameless, but I'm a guy. When do we figure these things out? You tell me. I didn't go off and sleep with someone else. I didn't stray from you.
I'm sorry, she says. I had to follow my heart. I had to follow someone who actually seemed to actually care about me at the time.
I did care. And you threw that back in my face. I don't know why you're bringing this up, Zelinda. Why? Why now do you need to hear this?
Because if I am going to trust you, Theoben, I want to make sure that all of the cards are on the table.
Fine.
Because if I'm going to tell you everything...
Fine. You can ask me anything. I am an open book. And while we're at it, why couldn't you have told me my daughter's in the other room?
Snoop!
She says, I was going to tell you before you left. I was just trying to decide what the best way to do it was.
How about, hey, Theoben, this child has your blood.
There was clearly other things that needed to be taken care of. There were more pressing matters, immediate matters that we needed to discuss. Your friends did not want to spend however much time for us to go through our family tree and start sorting out our business together. Clearly that needed to happen first. So don't paint me as the bad guy here.
And so I'm the bad guy, am I? Because I didn't care enough for you? Because I threw you into the arms of another guy? Go on. Tell me that it was my actions that put you in bed with him.
Oh, Theoben, you just don't understand. You don't know what it's like. You don't know what it was like going through what I did, to have everything taken away from me, to be cast as castless. I've been on both sides of those fences. I was forced to do a lot of things that I wasn't proud of because of that. My life spiraled down. And no, I don't blame you for it. Not completely. But I can't have you coming in here judging me or have that holier-than-thou attitude like you always seem to have.
I'm not being... How can you say that? Holier than thou? Holier than thou? Holier than thou? When have I ever been holier than thou? I am a merchant. This whole adventure is 10 times beyond me, and I'm terrified.
All right, fair enough. Let me start then by talking to you about Rosie, okay? Your wife, Amelia. You know what happened to her in the proving ground. I don't have to repeat that story to you. What you don't know is that she had just given birth to her child, your child, Rosie, 3 months prior to that. You were not on the surface during the time. She tried to tell you. She was going to surprise you when you finally came back. But by the time you did, it was too late. Rosie was then taken care of by Amelia's parents.
And nobody thought to tell me? Like...
They couldn't because the blight hit and Branka started doing her... You know what was happening over at Orzammar.
The blight, Branka, what happened? Where was she then?
They tried to escape. They tried to get away from Branka because she was sending off this edict after edict, trying to volunteer all of the dwarves to turn into golems. And that's when they found us, me, and my husband at the time. We helped them and several of the dwarves out. At the time, it was the Carta helped the dwarves escape from Orzammar. Yes, it was the Carta.
Carta don't do anything for good.
Well...
What were their motivations? They had to have...
They wanted to get away from Branka as well. Again, you're judging again. Just because we're affiliated with the Parta, we were the ones who helped those dwarves. The reason why so many of the Orzammar dwarves survived was because of us. We helped them escape.
The resistance helped the dwarves.
For the people that stayed, yes, but there were those who wanted to leave. They saw Orzammar as a sinking ship, and they thought that it would be suicide to stay there. So we wanted to take action. What did you do, Theoben? We actually helped dwarves. Did you just hide somewhere in a hole somewhere or something? What did you do?
Why on earth would you think that? I am no coward.
So you were in the resistance as well?
Yes. From the beginning.
Well, perhaps I was wrong about you then, Theoben.
Okay.
At any rate.
Look, you cannot blame me for being skeptical about the Carter.
I know. But we are not all bad. And most of the people in the Carta, we do the things we do because we're either painted into a hole because we have no other choice, because no one else gave an F about us, because virtually every single one of us were castless.
Need I remind you Need I remind you, Zelinda, you became castless when you had sex with a castless and had a baby with a castless. Had you have married me, you would have had a better cast.
So you're saying that I should have just married you and everything would have been hunky-dory. My life would be completely perfect because of that.
Perfect? No, but if you are to complain about being castless, perhaps you should have just talked to me.
Well, it's sounding to me like you think that you believe what all the rest of the dwarves believe about the castless, that they're all not worth
No.
anything.
No, I never said that. Listen, I'm sorry for what I said to you, and I'm sorry about what I did to you. Can we please talk about these children?
Yes, I was getting to that. So, Amelia's parents, they stuck around. They were very nervous around us, the Carta, but over time, they realized that we genuinely were trying to help them. Not all of the dwarves stuck around. Many of them went off and explored the surface. Amelia's parents and Rosie, they felt that it was Rosie's best interest to stay with us, where we could protect them.
I'm sorry, I hate to be a stickler on this whole I have a daughter thing, but was anyone ever going to tell me?
She says we had lost complete ties with Orzammar. I didn't know if you were around. I didn't even know if you were still alive at the time. Amelia's parents didn't know if you were still alive. I think they all assumed that you were dead or turned into a golem, just like the rest of them.
And how exactly have these dwarves now got magic?
Because my husband discovered a way to give the dwarves magic. There is a procedure that is done. It requires you to implant something into the brain of a dwarf. The ritual requires us to implant a magical device into the brain of the dwarf, which allows them to unlock their potential. We discovered this because of my husband, Cersei. He acquired this ability from his other son.
You've implanted these children.
Yes. And they're reaching their full potential because of it.
Are you nuts? What? You put something in their brains?
And it's completely safe. It's a painful after the procedure is done, but once it's done, they have the ability to cast a form of magic. One that is completely separate from the Fade.
So,
Far more controlled.
the Carter have created an implant to put into the minds of children to make them very, very powerful. And none of that rings any kind of alarm bells with you.
Only because it's much safer to put it into younger dwarves. Dwarven skeletons are much stronger and sturdier than those of other races. It's far less medically risky to implant the amp into the skulls of a child before their skulls have matured. We had tried starting out with mature dwarves and had far more failures. If we are going to do it, it's best to do it with children between the ages of 7 to 12 while their skulls are not mature and prior to them hitting puberty.
But you implanted them. You put a foreign object into their mind.
Yes. And it's not like they're not aware of it. The children have to, in order to manifest their powers, they have to continually apply a special type of lyrium in order to administer their powers.
How do you know that that can't also do mind control? How do you know that that can't make them pawns for the Carter? How do you know?
Because Cersei trusts his son, who invented it,
Well,
who
In
helped
that-
create it.
you're... Okay, this makes it a little hard to vouch for you, honestly.
Where do you think the word cognition comes from? Cersei's son is Cogs. That's where he got the amp from.
I don't know how to respond to that.
Do you trust Cogs? I thought that most dwarves did, at least. He's a brilliant mind.
I don't trust this Cersei.
Fair enough. If you must know, no, Cersei did not steal this from Cogs. Cersei and Cogs have actually started having quite a very close relationship. Father-son relationship.
Is that what you call sending House of Repose after him?
Cersei had nothing to do with that.
Then who did?
I did, but we weren't supposed to steal the plans from him, at least not completely. We just asked the House of Repose to make a copy so that we could give it back to him afterwards. Cersei got the order to steal the plans, and he refused. He did not want to compromise his relationship with his son, so he didn't want anything to do with it and refused. I was the one who made the decision to talk to the House of Repose and gave them strict instructions to copy the plans, and once they were done, give it back to Cogs.
And hitting him around the back of the head with blunt force, was that also part of this?
It wasn't blunt force. From what I understood, they just knocked him out temporarily. Didn't have any adverse effects as far as I was told.
I'm sorry, do you knock out a lot of your close friends? I'm just curious.
We needed funding for this school. It was for the good of all dwarves and for the students here. Nobody was going to pay us for this. The students need these students need resources here to get safe, to be fed, to have a roof over their heads. This was the only way that we could get the funding that we needed in a way that didn't compromise Cogs' plans.
Does Cogs know what you've done to these children?
He's aware of the school, yes. And he actually thinks it's a great thing. He actually thinks it's a good thing.
I thought it was a good thing, but putting things in these children's minds, things that we're not even fully aware of their capabilities.
So what are you going to do with this information?
So Linda, you know that I would do anything to make sure that they didn't drag you out of here and take you to a chantry or a circle.
Just know, Theoben, that what happens here today, whatever you and your friends decide, it's going to affect all dwarves as a whole, right here. Cersei, Cogs, and myself, we all believed that this is another step of evolution for the dwarves. Finally, we can cast magic too. If you want to take that away from dwarven kind, just know that this is an opportunity.
I'm not taking anything away from...
Your daughter is also the most powerful one here. She likes her abilities. She wants to use it to help people. Do you want to take that away from her?
I'm not trying to take away anything. Don't you see that I'm trying to get us the best solution here? But I have...
Why are you so afraid of this? Why do you think that...
Because I've got to go out there and plead your case to a Templar and someone that, frankly, should be more sympathetic. But that's the way it is.
And why do you need to tell them about all the details of the ritual, then?
I don't need to tell them all the details, but they are asking about this ritual, and honestly, I can understand. I get it. You know, they've talked to these kids, and one of the kids said they don't remember the ritual, their head hurts. I mean, I get it. Like,
We had to give them anesthesia so they wouldn't feel pain during the procedure. Of course, when they wake up, there's a little bit of pain, but it heals over time. And the only reason why it works on dwarves is because the amp that you put into your brain, it emits lyrium radiation. Such an implant would be poisonous to most living things, except for dwarves, who actually have a natural high tolerance to lyrium exposure. Cogs did all of the calculations. It's completely safe to dwarves, but nobody else. That's what makes this thing so life-changing. Finally, something dwarves can do and nobody else.
well, they're gonna want me to report back and tell them what I know. I'm not going to give them the details. But I have to trust that what you're doing is the right thing. And I don't know your husband. I don't know the Carter. I don't know who they are anymore.
If it helps you, Theoben, just know that I am the one who makes the calls here at the school, not my husband. And my main concern is the students here, their safety, and to provide them with the opportunity to be what they feel their potential should be, if they want it. None of these people came in here against their will. They all requested to go through the ritual. They all wanted to be able to cast magic. We're not brainwashing anyone here.
I'm gonna go back to my group. I see where you're coming from. I see where they're coming from. Just know that it's incredibly hard to be the in-betweener here, and
Do you want me to come with you when you speak with them? Would that help?
I don't know if... You know what, honestly, I don't even know if they trust me more than you or trust us both least. I honestly don't know. I'm just going to speak to them myself first.
Very well. Then this is going to be... I am trusting you more than I have ever trusted you before, Theoben. Just know that whatever happens, I will protect these students. And so will the rest of the people in this room.
As will I. If they left this mine intending to bring the Chantry, I'd personally help you flee. This is not something that I wish to see happen.
Thank you, she says.
Alright, I better get back.
All the other players okay?
Yeah.
It's a lot of stuff there.
Man.
Thanks, Mass Effect.
Man, we called it. Me and
Yeah, we
Kimberly were
completely
calling
ran
it.
away. We were like, how are dwarves doing magic? This makes no sense.
Out of character, just so that you know, it's orange because so there's no element 0 here. Cogs basically made a version that is not science-based, but more like basically the Thetis version of an amp here that is safe enough for dwarves. But like Zelinda says, it gives off Illyrium radiation, which dwarves are immune to, but all other races are not. And you can't feed it raw lyrium because if you remember from the Mass Effect campaign, the biotic amp actually repelled lyrium because it's like element 0 and lyrium are like opposites of each other.
Oh.
So they detract from each other, so it rejects it. So the closest thing that Cogs found that was closest to element 0 here in Thetis is the refined lyrium that Dagna discovered that is used to power the airships, which turns blue lyrium into orange lyrium. So orange lyrium not only helps fuel airships, it also helps fuel the dwarven magic amps. So
That's so awesome.
Oh, cool.
yeah. And you guys get to decide what the PCs are going to do about that. So go ahead.
So Linda, you come with me.
Very well. And she will follow you back into the room.
Yeah. So Linda and I have had a talk about this ritual. I'm not entirely comfortable with the term, but that happens to the kids. An interesting factoid I didn't actually know was that Cognition is named after Cogs, a dwarf that you've all met, except for Violetta.
Oh, I know the name, dear. Princess Violetta says.
My apologies. Zelinda?
My husband is Cogs's father.
Oh,
Cogs and my husband have started reestablishing a relationship with each other. It's been a while since the two of them have actually spoken, and my husband has made a lot of changes in his life within the past couple of years. Reconnecting back to his family was one of them, especially since he has another son of his own, Zachariah.
With all due respect, Zelinda, the ritual. I believe they want to know the ritual.
Cogs has discovered a way to tap into a dwarf's potential. He basically came up with this magical object that, when implanted inside a dwarf's brain, can allow them to cast magic. He and my husband have run through hundreds and hundreds of tests before we tried it on others. If that doesn't sway you, we did it to our own child, Zachariah, and he's been perfectly healthy and fine. The putting the magical device is far less risky if done to young dwarves as opposed to older dwarves, who tend to reject the device, the amp. That's why we put them into children of a certain age between the ages of 7 to 12.
and you said it usually work. Well, it either works or it doesn't. What does a failure look like?
When we started earlier, we ran tests of putting the device in people internally, volunteers within our group. We started with the adults, of course. We didn't want to put risks on anyone younger than a certain age. And we discovered that very early on that while it worked for some mature dwarves, for others there was a chance that the procedure to implant them into a dwarf could lead to serious injury or even be fatal, which is why we stopped implanting them into dwarves of a certain age entirely. Implanting them in dwarves between the range of 7 through 12 cuts the risk down to a fraction of a percent. Every single person who signs up for this program, all parents are notified of this fraction of percent of failure, that it could lead to something lethal. Numerous parents decided not to put their children through this program, and we do not force them, but they are told up front of the possible risk. The others, after talking with their own children, did decide to take that risk, and those are the students, the 10 students that you see here.
Including my own daughter.
Yes.
Your
So-
daughter.
Her grandparents accepted to have it planted into your daughter.
So rest assured, if these amps did bring any harm to her,
It would have happened already.
These amps, they're not powered by the Fade,
No, they're not.
so it's not like our magic. How
It
are
is
they
not.
powered?
Through a special type of lyrium. A lyrium that was generated by research done through Dagna. Regular lyrium doesn't work in these amps. You have to feed it the refined lyrium, orange lyrium to be exact.
And taking this orange lyrium is not a problem, I'm assuming?
No, because they don't ingest it. They merely put it into the amp itself. There's a compartment on the back of their heads. You can see, if you pull back their hair, there's a tiny compartment where they can apply the lyrium into it. All of the children are aware of this. They put it in themselves. They've learned how to put it in themselves. It's become a part of their life.
And what happens if you stop putting this lyrium in?
Then the device no longer functions and you can no longer cast magic.
There are no
That's
side
all.
effects?
No.
Well, I thank you for being upfront with how these rituals work.
You can understand why we're all very nervous about what others would think about this procedure, because it is very unorthodox.
Hi.
Just putting it lightly.
But just because it's unorthodox doesn't make it innately evil or bad.
True.
When one wants to advance, you do have to take certain risks, and we have done everything we could to mitigate those risks, especially considering how there's children involved. Do not think for one moment that I take that lightly.
Linda, nobody thinks that.
It's clear you care about the kids, and I'm all for you discovering something part of your people, but the people who fund this operation, what exactly is their end game with their kids? I mean, it's clear you're teaching them how to use their magic, but for what purpose? Just to discover it? Or do they have a mission eventual? What do they want to do with these kids when they grow up?
Whatever the kids want to do. It's up to them. They are the future. They are the next generation of dwarves. I guess they get to decide what happens from here. I cannot predict what will happen. I'm sure that it will rock the world and everything will change from this point, and I just hope, for the sake of the kids here and for everyone in Thetis, that they make the right choices.
So what are we deciding here? I mean, it sounds like they're okay. They don't need us to interfere with what they're doing.
Well, our Templar friend wanted to feel comfortable in this operation, so I believe that answer lies with him.
While I still don't necessarily feel completely comfortable around this operation, the fact of the matter is that you are disconnected from the Fade still.
Yes.
Abominations,
Yes.
That's how mages get possessed, is through that. That was my primary concern, especially through this ritual. I was afraid that you were doing something with demons, or I don't know what. I don't know what to believe. I just saw you throw a rock across the room without touching it.
So basically, as Erlinda says, you were planning on coming here swords ablazing?
Well, that's what Theo.
I was planning on coming here because I thought it was a trap for dwarfs.
Why would you think that?
Because the Anvil of the Void is missing. And suddenly there's an event that sounds impossible that would only be of interest to dwarves.
I see.
Out of character, Theo told us that the Carter is the one that took the anvil, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
He did.
So
Yep.
I'm just sitting here like, speaking of the anvil, did we forget about it? Or, because, I mean, I thought that was the reason.
Nobody here has forgotten about the Anvil, but it's not.
Have you asked her? Because
Have I
that was
asked
the reason
her?
we came here. Yes.
Yes,
She's-
yes. So, Linda, where are you hiding the Anvil? You're looking after these children here, but you must have a hobby.
The anvil.
Yes. Theo said that the Carter took the anvil of the void. I also happen to know of your husband. Any chance he knows?
She says, I suppose. What makes you think the Carta was involved with stealing such a thing?
I saw it
You saw it?
through a shard possessed by one of the heroes of Thedas, Nel Dubois.
The Carta is a large network. It is true that my husband is one of the leaders of the Carta, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the Carta who ran off with the Anvil of the Void is the same group as us.
There are many different branches of the Carta now.
Yes, we had to. We were forced to. Especially with all the changes that King Kine had made. The fact that dwarves weren't supposed to go to the surface, that was the bloodline of the Carta. You know, all of the black markets trading back and forth between the surface and the ground. Now that trade is completely wide open, many of us had to find other ways of feeding ourselves.
So you don't know where the Anvil is, and you don't think it has anything to do with your husband.
I don't personally know. I doubt that my husband has anything to do with it, but unfortunately he's not here for me to ask.
Well, he looks at Andrea. I've asked. There you go. I found out. I have a daughter. I've had to calm down Broody Boy over there, and now I've asked. Are you happy now?
Yeah, since that's why we came here. Yeah, I'm happy. I'm perfectly happy.
Plenty of shit's gone down, alright? I was getting to it.
I didn't
Linda.
think I ever got out of control.
I don't either.
Well, of course not. You can sit over there and judge a bunch of mage children. The point is that can you at least, despite your own grievances, let these people lie? Let them continue what they're doing.
Yeah, I don't care. It
Well,
doesn't affect me at all.
seeing how there is no apparent blood magic or demons involved, I don't see why this can't continue. I will trust you in this matter as to where I will not tell the Chantry or circles about this. But know this, if I hear one thing about a dwarf using magic to do wrong, I will be down here so fast with as many Templars as I can round up, and we will not take it easy.
Zerlina says, and if I hear of one instance where a Templar has, abused his power, because we all know that doesn't happen.
Obviously not.
You will what? Are you going to threaten me now?
Did you not just do the same thing?
Well, I am letting you do this operation. I'm merely laying out the guidelines to this.
She said, I didn't technically give you a threat. I didn't finish my sentence. But I didn't have to finish that sentence because I was just trying to prove a point.
I don't know what you think about Templars, and frankly, I don't care. But know this, I'm not like other Templars. Other Templars wouldn't have even listened to you.
And we're not like other mages.
That doesn't mean I still can't be skeptical. I am very appreciative that you were honest with me. And I felt that I deserved to be honest with you.
Fair enough.
I see no reason to contact Chantry.
I thank you.
Just make sure you do right by these kids. Make sure they get a good upbringing.
She nods. If there's nothing else, Theoben, I had one more thing I wanted to ask you privately.
All right.
She will probably take you aside. You don't have to go back to the office, but she'll take you aside. Before you leave, I must ask you, what do you want to do about Rosie? If you wish to take her, you are technically her father, and I am not going to stop you from doing so. If you want to leave her here under our care, I assure you she will be very happy as well. But I wanted to give you the choice.
I need to do what's right by Rosie, and this is the best atmosphere for her. Frankly, I don't trust her with these people. They do not accept her. They do not accept what is going on. And she doesn't deserve that. Here I know that she is cared for and embraced for who she is.
In that case, let me ask you this question. Are you going to tell her?
No. I don't see how it would do any good. She believes her father is, I think, dead. Or to tell her she has a father that has then up and left her is even worse.
Very well. That is your choice. For now. Theo, just know that if you ever wish to come back to visit, you are all welcome to it. And just because you feel that now is not the time to tell her about you, don't think that that door is shut forever. You're always welcome back. Because I'm sure when she gets older, she might want to know.
Understood.
Well,
It was an interesting encounter, but it was good seeing you. You know.
are you good in general, Theo?
Honestly, I'd love nothing more than just to be back in Ozamar, in my shop.
But are you happy? Are you happy in Orzabar right now?
Happy. I was content. I don't know if I've felt true happiness in a long time, but I know I wasn't unhappy.
Well, let me tell you this, Theoben. This, she says, pointing, this school, these students. I found my happiness here. It took a long time for me to do so. I had to dig myself out of some pretty deep holes throughout my life, but I eventually found it. I think you owe it to yourself to fight for your own happiness too. Find it, whatever it is, and whoever that may be.
I will consider your words, Linda.
Good. Because one of these days, when you come back here to talk to Rosie, and I believe you will, it may not feel like that now, but I believe you will, I can bet that she'll want to find her father happy too.
I'll do my best for her. It'd be nice if I could come back with some tales of just how good her father is.
I think today you've started proving that.
Yeah, well, if you say so.
She actually reaches out and she takes her hand, she gives it a squeeze. I'll see you later, Theoben.
You sure you don't want to give me another slap for the road?
I might save that for the next time we meet again.
Tradition. Great.
I think if I was keeping score, I probably owe you at least 2 more, don't you think?
Fair enough.
She smiles.
Alright, I'll...
And then she will dismiss you.
Yep. See you later.
Okay.
Yep.
And I think with that, it's probably a good time for us to stop.
Yep.
So, all right.
Oh my goodness.
Damn.
It is.
So
many reveals.
And no, like this is one of the major. When I told you when we began this campaign that you were going to make some world-changing decisions, this is one of them. allowing them to continue basically having mage dwarves is huge. So
Yeah.
we'll see what happens from that.
Yeah. That's exciting.
I'm sure nothing bad.
I doubt. Well, I mean, I doubt you're going to see any lasting effects this campaign, but probably season 3 or 4.
Oh man.
We'll see what the lasting effects are. So
That's exciting.
it's very exciting. Okay, so you have a lot to talk to Rachel about.
Oh my gosh.